This is the Bill O'Brien Podcast.
Mike O'Malley, welcome to the Bill O'Brien Podcast.
Hey, all right, I love it.
And Bob Ryan is, thank you, Bob, for joining us. We appreciate it.
You're welcome by guys like Mike Milbury. So it's an honor to have Mike on the show. Thank you, Mike, for doing this.
Well, thanks. No, pleasure to do it. Happy to do it. You've got a pretty good resume yourself. So,
One of the legend football evaluation business. Scott Pioli is our guest, and he really needs no introduction.
With your host, John Meterparel.
Hands it off Robichaux with a hold to the 10, to the 5, end zone, touchdown! Take him out, Kai Robichaux.
And Coach Bill O'Brien.
Traveling for the first time, that's a good point. We've never brought this on the road. But
how was the trip down?
Hold on now. You can't start talking until we introduce you. Like, we've had some legendary guests.
Yes.
I mean, we've had a who's who of, Bob Ryan and Scott Pioli and Matt Light and Scott Zolak, and we've had a who's who of Mike Milbury, Doug Flutie. But this is my personal favorite, one of the greatest of all time, Mike Vrabel.
Of course.
Head football coach of the New England Patriots is kind enough to give us about 45
I don't need the spiel.
time.
Like, I worked for Billy for 4 years. You gotta understand that.
Producer Ciaccio.
John, Coach.
It's the Bill O'Brien Podcast. Available on all podcast platforms.
Welcome to episode 49, one shy away from the half-century mark. Can you believe that?
That's pretty incredible when you think about that.
It really
Are you going to do the 49, or do you want me to do it? Because I know we're both going to say that.
49.
I know one. I will give you one.
The legend speaks. We can't let the legend speak yet.
This is my fault. This is our producer's fault.
Can I write it down?
You did it last time.
And see them, right? What you guys are going to
You wrote it last time.
We're throwing people under the bus, but Bert Breer's here. We'll get to you in 1 second,
Okay.
Bert. Hold on your 49. Who do you got?
Tim Wakefield.
Of course. I knew you were going to go there. That was too obvious. I look for, outside
Were
the
you
box
going with
guys.
Jonas Gray? Was he 49?
Didn't you give us? Wasn't he 40? I thought he was.
No, I was going to go with Joe Cardona.
Joe Cardona.
Yeah, that's Joe Cardona. That's a good one. Was he 49? I thought
Yes,
he
he
was
was.
46. Yeah.
Long snappers for 500, please.
Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, and here's a unique aspect of 49. There's never been a Celtic 49.
How about that? Only you would know that.
They've never given out 49.
Again, a man with some useless information.
Well, it's
not a good basketball number.
It's not a good basketball number.
You need to introduce our guest.
Wait a minute, though. I know he loves the Bruins aspect.
I don't even have the Bruins. I didn't do the research. Do you have it? I can look it up.
This is awful.
Joey Juneau.
Joey Juneau.
Remember Joey Juneau?
He was 49.
Yes,
That's
49.
Was he a first-round draft pick?
I believe he was.
Believe so.
He was smooth.
Yeah.
The team around him wasn't so good.
I'm surprised that
That's my bad.
It's
Dude, he's
July.
dropping
A
the
little
ball.
lazy, hazy
hazy days.
Well, you've changed days on us. We're recording on a Tuesday. We usually do it on
No,
Monday.
it's always
I'm
going
all
to be my
thrown
fault.
We're all thrown off. He's got his face on a Lord Hobo. Bert Breer needs no introduction.
None.
Part of our legendary list of guests.
We have had some great guests.
Sports Illustrated. We knew you when you were at the Metro West Daily News.
That's right, yeah.
Pride of Lincoln Sudbury High School.
Yes.
Yep.
Tom Lopez, head coach.
Yep, and now that I've already screwed the podcast up, right? Yeah.
Nah, Vrabel did it too. So
Yeah.
Everybody jumps in. It's okay.
But again, along the lines of, great journalists, great sports reporters, journalists, this is in my opinion, one of the few guys that really understands the game, cares about the game, gets to know the people in the game, and nobody outworks this guy. And this guy, like he was telling us, I'm sure he'll tell us, drives across the country to cover these training camps coming up. So, and it's awesome that he's from Massachusetts. And one thing, too, I'm going to ask him about this, but does an unbelievable job with the Duxbury Youth Football Program. Really does a good job with that program, and just again a guy that really cares about football, not just the gossipy part of it. So, Bert, we really appreciate you being here. This is awesome.
No, thanks for having me. You know how much I think of Bill, sorry for screwing things up there.
Hey,
but I did have Tim Wakefield in my head. I was going to write it down for you to make sure.
That's
You didn't screw anything up. It's all about beating Meter to the punch.
Right.
Okay.
For 47 episodes, so on 48. I
You
said
screwed up last
I
week.
screwed up last week too.
Yeah,
But I
Al
ended up-
Nipper's 49.
Now, it's said on Google. I have the image.
it's said on Google. Here we go. If we
on,
believed
Coach.
everything on Google, none of us would be sitting here.
Yeah, I'd be doing something different. That's if I believed it.
That's for sure.
But it's all about beating meter to the punch. So
Yeah, once in a while. You'll get me once in a while. But you've had an amazing run from a journalistic standpoint. We knew you when, but bring us back to Ohio State and your football genesis there. And you were involved with that program. And what brought you there?
Yeah, so, well, I mean, I guess I'm kind of like a contrarian at heart, and all my family went to Michigan, so I wind up at Ohio State.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, my dad, my grandfather, I'm a triple legacy there. I have cousins that go there, that went there. So, like, a lot of my family's roots, my dad grew up outside Detroit. And so, like, a huge part of it for me when I was a kid, is I sort of thought that's what college was. You know what I mean? Like, and a lot of my friends go to the smaller schools around here. I just thought these big campuses out there, that's what college was to me, and was exposed to us from a time I was really, really little. And so, and it kind of like dovetailed with a couple different things, playing football in high school. Had a great experience. My high school coach was a legend, and was really lucky to be around him and help foster my love for the game. I also figured out, like, I probably was never going to make money playing it. So, like a lot of other people, you figure that out at a young age, and what else can I do? And so, like, as far as journalism go, my story actually starts in high school when, my grades weren't great. And like, I was kind of an F up when I was that age, and my dad, who had just a huge impact on me in so many different ways, basically said you need to do something to beef up your college resume. And so one of the things that I had thought about was, like, maybe I want to coach, maybe I want to work in a front office, have all those thoughts that a lot of us had, I'm sure, when we were that age. And he was like, well, what about going and working at the newspaper? You know what I mean? And so he put me in touch with John Tomasi, was actually the sports editor of the Sudbury Town Crier at that point, believe it or not.
I remember that.
And so my dad got me in touch with him. He said, well, why don't you write stories on the team that you're playing on?
Yeah.
Right. And so I would write, like, this thing every week coming off of our games my junior year in high school, on what we had done the previous Friday night. And then he was like, well, you're pretty good at this. Like, why don't you try covering something else? And so I did a bunch of stories on the girls basketball team, who I was friends with all of them. And it's a great assignment for a 16-year-old kid. Like, I'm going to go cover the girls basketball team.
Yeah. Feel like he's next.
So I got to do some of that. And it just, one thing kind of built into another, where it was like, maybe I can actually really do this, And so then I had gone through high school. I had gone to football camp at up in Hubbardston, at this camp that Ron Burton Jr. ran. You know the name?
Yes,
So
sure.
Ron Burton Sr. was the first ever draft pick of the Patriots, and he ran this amazing training village that was, it was a 5-week thing for disadvantaged kids. The kids came from tough neighborhoods. I mean, Ron Burton Sr. was a saint.
Unbelievable.
And so his son, Ron Jr., started this speed and conditioning camp that was like a 10-day camp, one of the hardest things I've ever done. I mean, we're pushing tires, pulling tires, running up hills, all that different stuff. It was end of July, beginning of August. So I got to know the Burton family because I went there when I was in high school. I needed to get faster. So I got to know the Burton family that way. And then through that, like, my dad said, like, well, Ron Burton Sr. is close friends with Will McDonough. Will McDonough was my hero when it came to this stuff. Like, Will McDonough is the guy I looked up to the most. And so they set up a meeting for me fall my senior year where I got to go into the Globe sports desk and go meet with we'll sit down and meet with Will McDonough, which, I mean, I always think about that now whenever any kid comes to me asking for help, that Will McDonough took me at 17 years old, an hour of his time during football season.
That's amazing.
And sat down and talked to
No
me
kidding.
about the business. Didn't know me from a hole in the
What
wall.
a great story.
You know, and so he didn't. He couldn't have picked me out of a lineup. I was nobody, and he sat down with me and talked to me for an hour. Where are you thinking about going to school? You know, you should think about this. And one of the things that we talked about was like, like Syracuse and Michigan State are good journalism schools, but really, if you can go to a school that's got like a big time football team, like that would help. And so, like, you combine that with my own background of like my dad being from the Midwest and having gone to one of those schools, it all sort of added up. And so like that is sort of part of what led me down the road to Ohio State. Now, again, my grades weren't very good. I had high SATs, which I was one of those anomalies. And so I always thought I was going to go to Michigan because I'm a triple legacy, didn't get in. And so, FU Michigan, I wind up at Ohio State. And but I think one thing, like, and I haven't had everything right, but I think one thing that like I did take from that meeting with Willie, which was would always stick with me, was like, if you go to a school like that, you're going to have the opportunity to sort of do the job that you want to do ahead, right? Like, so, I mean, I'm not working for the Columbus Dispatch or one of the Columbus TV, but I'm standing right there with them. You know what I mean? And so, like, while I'm in school, like, like 3 or 4 of my classes in college were covering the football team. You know what I mean?
When you were at Lincoln Sudbury, this is an unbelievable story. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Were you a really good writer? Because you said that somebody said, "Well, you're good at." Your dad said you're good at this. You should write about it.
It was Tomasi that said that, and it's interesting because I was always way better at like math than I was at writing. I didn't think I was a good writer at all.
Right.
But because I had read so much Sports Illustrated, Boston Globe, like, and I think for anybody growing up here, I mean, we grew up with you guys are around, like you guys had the same group, right? Like as Bob Ryan, Lee Montville, Dan Shaughnessy, Peter Gammons, Will McDonough. You look at it,
It
it's
took
like
you 3 hours to get through the Sunday paper.
I mean, it was like I have the same story everybody else does of like, I wanted to be the first one down the driveway so I could steal a sports section from my dad.
Right,
you know what I mean? Like, so I think everybody had that same
right.
experience growing up around here.
So at Ohio State, did you right away as a freshman? Did you start writing for the school newspaper or sports department? How did that work?
So you had to apply to the School of Journalism once you got in. So that was the way it worked at Ohio State. So I did that and I got in, and then it was spring of my sophomore year, I think I started, because we were in quarters then. So spring of my sophomore year that I started writing for the school newspaper. And then I think fall of my junior year was the first time I was around the football team. Right. Which was, and at the time, so that was John Cooper's last year as the coach. And so I like the interesting thing about it, not that you'd want anybody to get fired, but like I got the experience then of it was probably like, so my first year was the year, you guys remember this, Andy Katzenmoyer was on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
Of course.
With his like, that he's taking basket weaving at Ohio State. So here I am, like coming from like in Sudbury. I'm about 3 weeks away from going from school, and like Sports Illustrated is writing a story about what a joke academics at Ohio State are. But we were great that first year. So they were number 1 in the country for most of the year that year. Lost on a miracle comeback by Michigan State. Nick Saban was the coach. Blocked a punt in the game, and but they were great that first year. Every starter on that team played in the NFL. I think every defensive starter on that team played in the NFL. Oof. And then the next 3 years were probably the lowest point over the last 50 years of Ohio State football. So like, you would think that's unlucky,
right?
But
for you,
the reality is, like, I got to see a ton of stuff. Like, I covered an academic scandal. I covered a player getting thrown in jail. I covered a coach firing. Like, and you don't want to see these things happen, of course, but like the experience of having gone through it, I think in that way was kind of fortunate. They won the national championship right after I graduated. So like I missed that, but like I did get a lot of good experience and stuff that like I think is really applicable not just to covering football, but also like the stuff that comes along with covering football that you're going to have to do at some point in your career.
When you got out of there, what was the first thing where did you go out of there?
Yeah. So like, here's the thing that the interesting thing about it is like that you have like this, I think unless you get like one of the big jobs, like, so like one thing I learned quickly was like the kids who go to like Syracuse and Missouri and Columbia, they gobble up like the big jobs, right? Like, so they're the ones that go straight to the LA Times or the Boston Globe or the Washington Post or wherever else. And so like for the rest of us, there's like this humbling process of getting knocked back down. You know what I mean? And so I remember I wanted to work in New York because I figured, all right, like, you know, like I want to go to the biggest market and try to get in somewhere there. So I put together a binder, and I knew like everybody would. I knew everybody in my position sends these things out to a million different people, and who knows if they ever get off of anybody's desk.
Right.
So I said to my dad, I'm like, I'm gonna just drive down the East Coast and walk these into every newsroom like that I sent them to. Like, so I'm gonna drive from Boston to Washington. I don't know how far I'm gonna get into any of these buildings. I might be handing them to a secretary. I might get all the way to the sports editor. I don't know.
Right.
But I'm gonna take a week and my dad said, yep, that's a good idea. I had friends that lived, like, you know, friends from college that lived in Jersey, lived in DC, so I could find places to stay. Yeah. And so I did that, and then I got a job at the Asbury Park Press, and I worked. It was awful. It was like I was a night editor, and there was like no light at the end of the tunnel. But I had maintained like that job at the Sudbury Town Crier. I had they were owned by the Metro West Daily News, which was the bigger paper that kind of like was the over the top paper for all the little community papers, the weeklies.
Right.
And so I kind of had, during college in the summers, I kept doing some work for them and everything else, and kept in touch with them. And so the Asbury Park Press thing, there's a funny story behind that too, but that didn't really work out. But what it taught me was, I didn't want to be an editor. I didn't want to be chained to a desk, and I wanted to do something that would be applicable, even if it wasn't at a very high level. And it was like I had to kind of like say, okay, like I wanted to go from Ohio State to working in New York, right? Like, and go from covering Ohio State football to working in New York to, no, you know what? I just need to go write and report. Like, I need to go do that.
Right. And
I knew Metro West would let me do that. And you know, so when I first came in there as like a high school kid, like, you know, Tom Curran and Mike Reese were there, and the editors still knew me. Mark Murphy, who worked at the Herald forever, was the sports editor. Craig Larson, who wound up becoming the sports editor, was the deputy sports editor, and they had always told me like, hey, whenever if you want to come back, like, we may not be able to give you a full-time job, but come back.
Yeah.
And I'd covered like the Marlboro Shamrocks when they were winning like semi-pro national football titles. I don't know if you guys remember that stuff.
Of course. Yeah.
There were rumors that they were a front for something else. I don't know, but so anyway, so I wind up in the fall of 03 going back there, and Curran had left to go to the Providence Journal, and Reese was the deputy sports editor, and Craig Larson was the sports editor, and I just dove in and just decided like, hey, I'm gonna go cover high school sports, and I'm gonna be the best at it, and I'm gonna work my ass off and try to make it, and like that led to, you know, I went back there part-time but full-time, like, just as far as how much I was working. And then 04, they were like, I pitched them, I'm like, hey, well, why don't you let me cover BC football? And so I did that, and I had like a college column that I did. And I was here for the game. I don't know if you guys remember this, but I was here for the game when Diamond Ferry had his revenge against BC.
Yeah.
And
Everett's own.
Yep. Diamond Ferry had, it was one of the best, still one of the single best performances I've ever seen in person. Like, I think he had like 15 tackles and like 150 yards rushing or something.
He was insane. Yeah, that was the game that all
Matt
BC
Ryan's
had
first
to do,
game too.
All they had to do was win the game and go to the Fiesta Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
They lost.
So,
Appreciate that. Thanks for bringing that up.
A lot of Everett kids.
But yeah, so Reese left. Reese left in 05 to go to the Globe, and so like then I just I went to the sports center and I just said look, I've been working towards this. I'd love the opportunity to do it. I've done everything you've asked. And I'll still remember, it was Craig Larson, I still remember him saying to me, I'm going to let you do it, but if your local coverage slips up even an inch, you're off the beat. And so I had to cover high school sports, help put the paper out, and cover the Patriots in 05, 06, and 07. And it was about as hard as I've ever worked. And
I think that's when I met you. It was 07. You were with
in the Metro West. Yeah. And so I was actually my roommate. We were living in the North End. We found a 2-bedroom on North Street in the North End. One of the best times of my life. Like $1,100 a month. I don't know how he found it.
Wow.
But he was a limited earnings coach, and you know what that means, Billy, at Northeastern. It was before they dropped.
Yeah.
And so we had a lot of those were technically part-time jobs. They were anything but part-time.
Part-time pay.
Yeah. So, and he and the rest of the coaches, I remember they bounced at T's Pub.
Oh yeah, love T's Pub.
Because they bounced at T's Pub, and the reason why, because that was the only job that that had the kind of hours that you could
do it.
You could do it on top of the $8,000 you were making coaching.
No doubt, that's amazing.
What a story. What did you learn? What's significant moments for you in your reporting career that kind of where the lightning rods were? Yeah. All right, I'm learning this. It's hard, but I'm getting it. Was there a point where you said, "All right"? I think figuring it out.
I think one of the things that was big for me was building the relationships with high school coaches. Which sort of taught me the importance of reporting and how you report. And I think a lot of us when we're in college, everybody thinks they're like Hemingway writing about sports. That doesn't get you where you need to go. You need to be able to build relationships with people. And I tell people no matter what job I'm doing. And I've got a few of them I'm always juggling at once. My job is to know what's going on. And the only way you can know what's going on is to build relationships with guys like you. You know what I mean? So I learned, covering high school sports, how important those relationships were to being the best you can be at what you're doing. So, I still had, I remember my relationships. I was covering my own high school coach, which was interesting. But I was also covering, I remember the names, Bill Maver, Tom Lamb, Gary Doherty, the coaches that were out there in Metro West that I had built the relationships with, that I had gotten to know really well. That, I the foundation of, my ability to do a good job was based on those relationships. So that was important. I think, back then it makes me sound like a dinosaur, but breaking first round contracts was a big deal back then, because if you remember when you first got in the league, half the first rounders weren't there at the beginning of training camp. That's so breaking the Lawrence Maroney deal in 06. And then it's actually interesting. The real breakthrough for me was going to Dallas, and I was at the point where it was I'm making $30,000 a year. I'm 27 years old. Eventually this is going to catch up with me. And so I'd taken the LSAT, and I was do I go to law school? Do I try to work in a front office? And I just, through a weird connection, the Dallas thing worked out. I had been turned down by places way smaller than that to try to get a job somewhere else. Early on, that was sort of where I was at.
What's that
about family? How about where did you meet your wife?
So I didn't meet my wife until actually I got back from. I met my wife trained for the marathon. Is the answer?
How about that?
So so that was and it's interesting too, because I went to Dallas in 07, got back in 08, and then I actually, she's going to hate that I'm going to tell this story. I met her, we have a mutual friend, and it was actually one of my best friends, that guy who was coaching at Northeastern. Yeah. It was his girlfriend at the time, now his wife. His wife tried to set us up at a Halloween party at the Liberty Hotel it was Halloween of 08, and the Liberty Hotel was brand new then, and so I had to do TV. It's probably with Felger or something, but I had to do TV that night. And I was in and out, and I guess I met her. So then in the spring, we're training for the marathon, and it was my first time running the marathon. My dad had run it, so I wanted to try. So it was spring of '09, and so we take the commuter rail for one of our training runs out to Natick, and Gigi, my friend Ron's wife, says, "Oh yeah, Emily's going to meet you guys out there because her training, the team she's training with, is a mess, and you guys are way more organized." And so we agree. Like, I guess, Ron, my buddy, sets it up so she's going to meet us at the commuter rail station in Natick. So you run back in on your training run, right? So you run the course on the way back in.
Yeah.
So we're getting off the train, and I go and introduce myself, like, "Hey, I'm Bert," and she goes, "I know, we've met." And so things went a little bit better from there. But yeah, that's how I met her.
That's awesome.
My goodness. The Dallas experience I forgot about. Was that mayhem for you covering the Cowboys?
Yeah, it was another, like, I would say, a lucky break for me. You know Rick Goslin.
Yeah.
So my one of my dad's best friends growing up was this guy, Art Getz. And Art Getz's cousin was Rick Goslin.
That's awesome.
And I had no idea.
Yeah.
And so I told my dad, I was applying for a few different jobs. I think one was in Palm Beach, covering the Dolphins. I was applying for a few different jobs that summer, and it was kind of like my last, like, if this doesn't work out, like, I wanted to cover your 07 team because I knew, like, that was going to be something else, right? So I was like, I'll ride the season out. If something comes along, great. If not, like, I got to start really evaluating my options. And so I tell my dad where I'm applying. He's like, "Well, I think I have a connection at the Dallas paper. Let me look into it." And it's Rick Goslin. I'm like, "Dad, couldn't you have told me that like before this?" But so Goose, who was unbelievable to me when I was down there, said, he's like, I get him on the phone. We talk for about 20 minutes about the job, and he says, "Well, I can't guarantee you anything, but what I can do is I can, don't send your stuff to the morning news. Send it to me, and I'll walk it into the office of the sports editor." And so one thing leads to another, and then another interesting story. And I think I've told this publicly before. If not, then so Bears will probably remember this. But I had mentioned to Bears, I think it was Bears. I had mentioned to Bears, like, "Hey, I'm applying for this job in Dallas, and I think I really want it, and I would, I don't know if I should say something to Bill, but I'd love to, talk to him about it." And like a week later, the sports editor down there, Gary Level, calls me, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm looking through your stuff. I thought it was interesting. I also got this in the mail, and I don't know what to make of it." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, I got this letter of recommendation for you from Bill Belichick." And
wow, sweet.
I didn't ask for it.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was coming. And it was just like one of those things where it was just a fortunate circumstance based on some of the relationships that you have, and then getting to cover the Cowboys was, it was. I covered Wade there, so we were coming off the Parcells era, and it was another one of those where it was like it was so different than covering the Patriots that it like kind of taught me. All of these teams work so differently, and you just have to figure it out. So now when I go around to all the different teams, it's like, I understand, I just have to figure it out. This team doesn't work the same way as the other team does, and I can't expect that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I have to figure out, because they really are 32 different entities.
Owners are all different. It starts at the top.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rick, going back to Rick Goslin, I didn't know that part. I knew you were in Dallas, but I didn't know about Rick Goslin is someone that I know NFL coaches, especially like special teams coaches, like they read what he writes because he ranks your, and he does it. And I know that Bill had great respect for Rick Goslin. He does special teams rankings every year, right?
Yeah, well, Goose was like interesting too, because I remember talking to him about it, and he was in Kansas City covering the Chiefs in the 80s, and they weren't great back then, but he told me, like, you never know where someone's going, and like his examples were guys like Bill Cowher and Tony Dungy passing through there. Like the kind of guys that he got to meet over the years. Like, and I always took that to heart. And I think about like that first. Obviously, all you guys in New England getting to be around guys like Josh and Eric Mangini and Matt Patricia, yourself, like all the guys who went through the front office guys, like have Thomas gets the job in Atlanta, and it's like, oh, well, now I know the Falcons GM. You know what I mean? Like, and that was early on for me. And so in Dallas, it was that staff had, it was. I mean, on in the front office, you had Jeff Ireland and Brian Gain, guys who became GMs, and then on the coaching side, you had like the shell of Parcells' staff. Like you had Tony Sperano still there, you had Todd Bowles still there. Todd Bowles was the secondary coach.
Was he really?
So it's interesting the way those things work out. You know what I mean? Like where you meet a lot of people. And it's a great example of like how, for me at least, it's like try to treat everybody with respect. And I always use this line. I may have used it with you before, but I always use this line with people. I'm like, I view all of these as 30-year relationships. Like I plan on being around for a long time, and if I'm going to maintain those relationships, I gotta treat you like a regular person.
You gotta work at it. Yeah. The other connection that I'm interested in hearing about is with Peter King.
Yeah.
Because as you rose to where you are at the highest part of your profession now, like you took over that, and you used to, if I'm correct, you used to like substitute for him, right? Writing the Monday morning.
No, I never did that before.
Okay,
I never did that before. But
you did.
Oh, well, when he was gone,
when he was gone,
when I was at SI, not before that, but yeah.
When he was gone, you would write the article, didn't you? Do that?
Yeah, I've done that. Yeah, I did that, and I think he, it's amazing what Peter does for people in our business that nobody ever knows about. Like he is
correct.
Like just like one of the best people I've ever been around. It's probably the best way to put it, because he just I kind of like at NFL Network. I felt like I was there for almost 6 years. I felt like I was constantly crashing into this glass ceiling, and it was like, how do I figure out like where's the next level for me? You know what I mean? Like, and for better or worse, like I just had kind of like gotten to the point where it's like I'm gonna drive myself crazy, doing injuries and weather, in front of stadiums for 40 seconds. And Peter and I had talked, and like in 15, and he was like, hey, would you be interested in this at all? He's like, I'm starting to think about like when I'm gonna move on. And we had some discussions about it, and I remember meeting with him that year at the Super Bowl, and it was actually interesting. Kaylin Kaler was his intern at the time, so she was at the dinner. When I just went, it was kind of like more of like a brainstorm, like what would this look like if we did this? And by the time in 16, by the time like I was ready to, like before he was making an offer, it was like, well, how about like I got 2 years left on my contract. How about you take over for me? And it was one of those things like couldn't guarantee that like everything would be the same, and certainly things can change in the business at a drop of a hat. But I mean, I was blown away. I mean, like I always I talk this thing at the combine, and college kids will show up for it every year. And I always tell a story on Peter of like, one of the things that kind of really, other than all the stuff I talked about with Will, that really sort of made me interested in becoming like a sports journalist was a story he did with the Packers in the 90s. And I remember it was this behind the scenes story that he did. He spent a week with them, and the level of access he got like blew me away. And the story I tell on that was, like I wind up taking over for Peter, and then Peter didn't tell me I was going to wind up competing against him for like I thought, okay, he's going to retire. Now he takes the job at NBC, and now I'm head to head with him for a few years. But like I remember, so every year at the Super Bowl, you're looking to get the best access you possibly can, and so like that's when you really have to pull on your relationships. So whoever it is, the coach, the quarterback, the important people, you're pulling on all of your relationships at the end. And I've got a pretty good relationship with Andy Reid, and I've been able to get him after Super Bowls. And so I remember Andy was just gassed at the end of that Super Bowl, and it's mayhem. And this is Peter's last game, and Peter was I knew it was Peter's last game, and I remember, like I was out on the outside of the locker room. I was talking to Kelsey, and I see Peter walk through with Andy, and I believe I texted Andy the night before, like, hey, like if I can get a few minutes with you, great. And like in a normal circumstance, you would think competitively, like, hey, like I got to make sure I get him after Peter. And I don't know why I did it, but my instinct told me to stand down, and because it was Peter's last Super Bowl, and I'm going to let Peter have his time with Andy, and if Andy wants to come and find me, great. If whoever else wants to come and find me to get me to Andy, great. Yeah. But I don't want to push this. And I thought back after that, and this is the really interesting point about that Packers story. Andy was the tight ends coach, and Andy was part of that story. And so it kind of like was a full circle thing for me. But that to me was the greatest example of Peter. When I tell the college kids, I'm like, that relationship, right, with Andy, like Andy, when Andy was gassed and like had won a Super Bowl, and like who is he? He's walking into the office with Peter King.
30-year relationship you're talking about.
And he's walking into the office with Peter King.
Yeah.
Well, Peter had spent time with him 25 years earlier, during that. And Andy was Peter doesn't know that Andy Reid's going to become Andy Reid. Peter's just going in for a week with the Packers, and he gets to know the tight ends coach, and the tight ends coach is Andy Reid.
And the other guy that gave you advice on that was Rick Goslin, saying about Bill Cowher coming through the Chiefs and all that. That's unbelievable. When one of the things I wanted to ask you about is like your connection to Boston, because you do a great job of, even though you're obviously national and you cover the whole league, but you still have the connection to, the Patriots and all of that, like, doing your Comcast New England stuff and all that, which I think is really cool. Is that something that's important to you to keep that Boston? Yeah,
it's important to me. I mean, I owe so much to people around here, and the people that I grew up with and I grew up around, and the people that I always feel like there was a point in my life when it was like I think it would have. I've said this to my parents. Like, there's a point in my life when I think it would have been pretty hard to believe that I was going to amount to anything. And I had all kinds of advantages, but I was a total shithead. And as a teenager, that was me. I was. And there were a lot of people around here who were awesome to me. My high school coaches, my parents, some of my teachers that stuck with me. And I've got my ties that I think it's an unbelievable. I've got an unbelievable network of people here, and I like having the connection to the area because I think it's such a great place to live. It was a great place to grow up. I'm raising my kids here. It's just it's like having that connection with the area that I'm from is really important to me, and it extends for me too. Every week I go on Columbus radio with Bobby Carpenter because that's an important part of my life too.
Bobby's
you know
awesome.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And I
Bobby's a good guy.
and I love Bobby, but it's important, it's I like the fact that I don't know if it's an ego thing or whatever, but I like the fact that my friends from high school can turn on the radio and hear me on a Friday morning, the same way my friends from college can turn on the radio and hear me on a Thursday morning.
What does it feel like to be really the guy that really came up? Well, you didn't come up with it. How should I phrase this question? On to Cincinnati. You're the reason why. You're the on to Cincinnati.
Is he really?
Yeah, you're the one who kept asking questions.
Yeah, so that was.
You got to tell us about that.
It was me and Michelle Steele. First of all, Michelle
Steele.
I don't want to knock you, Michelle, because it was like ping pong.
That's a famous thing.
Me, Michelle. And by the way, I wind up looking awful because my question was my question was have you built aggressively enough? Or do you feel like you've built aggressively enough around Tom Brady based on his age? Yeah. The guy winds up playing another 8 years. I don't think you guys lost again. I don't think the Patriots lost again that year. But I think it's a good example of that one was just stay on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's also part of the job that I was in was those jobs those NFL Network jobs, they send you to a facility and you need to get the guy on video talking about what everybody's talking about. And it was my relationship with Bill got a little sideways because I would ask some of these things in press conferences sometimes, and I didn't it was just like there was some weird stuff that had happened, like where, how do I put this? It just had gotten to the point where, like, when I did the reporting on Hernandez and why he fell in the draft, and when I did the reporting on Moss and like the Moss thing kind of blowing up at the end, Bill didn't like that, and so I wound up on the outside. Well, if I'm on the outside now, I can't ask the question behind closed doors, so I have to ask it in the press conference. And there was another piece of it too. Point. There was another piece of it too, which was, look, guys, I like when I was at a local paper, I could ask the minutia. Like, I'm catering to a national audience now. Like, if I'm going to get what I'm going to do on the air, like, I got to ask them big picture stuff. You know what I mean? So that was a big picture question that I think coming out of that game, everyone was asking. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's
one of the things that we asked Mike Reese, and I would love to hear your take on this, is when you're covering Bill, how well prepared you had to be as a reporter. Like, do you remember the first time you ever asked him a question? Like, did you write it out?
I think when I was young, I think when I was young, I was kind of an idiot, and I think I went overboard in trying to prove to him how much I knew about football with my questions. So I would ask, believe it or not, long-winded questions that like had that had like football jargon in them, and I do think like I think I actually maybe like won him over a little bit doing that, and annoyed some reporters doing that. But it was an interesting like thing getting to, like you're dropped in now. You work at the Metro West Daily News, so you're not at the Herald or the Globe or the, you know what I mean? Like, so you kind of have to figure out your own way.
Right.
And that was sort of like I don't remember. I remember. So I jumped on the beat. It was end of August of 2005, and I remember Katrina had just happened, because I still remember being in the old media room, and up on the TVs in the media room was the like Weather Channel coverage of the storms, and in that year, God, I wouldn't remember my first question, but I always remember I think when I was young, I was like almost trying to prove something. You know what I mean? Like prove that I belong, or prove that I knew what was going on. And I don't know if that was a mistake or not, but I mean, I wouldn't like. I try to tell people now, like I'm like, it's funny how it flips when you get older, because now it's like, I mean, I don't know an inch of what these guys know, so I try to let them inform me. You know what I mean? So it sort of flips that way a little bit once you establish yourself.
All right, let's interrupt Albert Breer for 1 second to tell you that Moody Dental is an award-winning high-tech dental office situated in Woburn. Kevin Mooney is a BC grad and an enormous BC fan. He's well-respected in the dental community. At Moody Dental, they take great pride in providing their patients with the highest quality dental health care in a relaxed and comfortable environment. Visit moodydental.com for more information. Call 781-621-9387 to book a new patient visit.
So, by the way, I think we have a couple prospects for sponsors. Now, they both are located on Cape Cod.
That's perfect.
One's a pizza place, golf shop, Italian place, and one's a great bar. One's called the Kettle Ho.
Okay.
In Orleans or Catuit, one of them. And one's called Giardino's Pizza, which is right on 28 and right near.
So we're off the cleanse.
Their listeners.
Sounds like you had a productive vacation.
Didn't you do a cleanse?
The cleanse
listen to the pod?
Only you would bring that up. Of course, we're way
That's
off
my
the
job.
cleanse. We're way off.
Do they listen to the pod at Kettle Ho?
Oh, they love it. Yeah,
they love the pod. All right, good. We of course, we're always
because we have great guests.
Of course, yes,
we have such interesting.
So he's talking
to
about
hear his story.
Relationships. Like we had him on the DNC show. Like those relationships are huge. To Bert's point. Like I texted him. I hadn't texted you in 15 years. He was like, "Hey man, what's up? I'll definitely do it." That
was an awesome.
So I
love that point about the 30-year relationship.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's just, but I think it like really kind of comes back to like just how you treat people. You know what I mean? Like I think it's it's great advice I got from my dad, which is like, show me how you treat the person who can't do anything for you, and I'll show you who you are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like show you, and it was just like sort of been like kind of like like it's just as far as like how you treat people. It's like you don't know what the area scout's going to become. You don't know what the position coach is going to become. So be good to that person. Treat that person the right way. And I think the other end of it too is just one thing that's been really key for me is trying to understand these guys' jobs. You know what I mean? Like trying to understand, like, because I know, I mean, for a fact, like our jobs are going to conflict. There are going to be times when like my job is going to conflict with his job. You know what I mean? And that's just going to happen. And you know, like I think if you have a good understanding of the other person's point of view, if you're looking across the table and you understand what that person is trying to accomplish, then you're going to be way better at what you're trying to accomplish.
How about, can you kind of fill us in a little bit on Duxbury Youth Football and how that's going?
So we're, I mean, we have a great group of kids. You got to meet them, Billy, and, you know, Jeff Halfley, who was here the year before, had us out. And I got to know Jeff when, through covering the NFL, but also when he was at Ohio State. And it's good to have another Buckeye legend here, by the way.
1 month. It was
30 minutes.
days.
You got to have a good Jeremiah.
Easy. It was longer than 30 minutes.
45 days.
45.
You got to have a good Jeremiah Smith story out of that.
I saw him, obviously didn't get to know him very well, but I saw him work out quite a bit, and he was working out. It's funny because I was just telling this story to one of our receivers here, because we got this Monarch jump machine. Yeah,
Marvin
here.
Harrison used that thing where it runs routes. You run routes, right?
It's an unbelievable machine. Yeah. Anyways, Jeremiah, who was just had arrived there in January, was this incoming freshman at the time, and he was working out with Marvin Harrison, who was getting ready for the draft. And I'm like watching these two like run these routes, and I'm like, which one is getting ready for the draft? And they're like, that one, and that's Jeremiah Smith. So you could tell that guy was going to be. I mean, I think if he came out, if he was allowed, I think you would agree with this. If he was allowed to come out, last year after his freshman year, he probably, no question, would have been a top 10 pick.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's it's like when people have asked me about him, like the comp, somebody gave me this. It was this after they went through spring ball, somebody who was there said to me, like, you're going to be talking about him the same way Adrien Peterson was talked about as a running back as a freshman.
Yeah.
And I think that's right. Like, it's like Peterson was the one where you watched him. It's just the one that sticks in my mind from the past, where it's like when you watch him as a freshman, like, not very many people could do it. He could play in the NFL at 18.
It's not like the others.
Yeah. What was the question again? Duxbury Youth. Yeah.
Duxbury Youth.
Yeah. So
we digress
from Ohio State.
Yeah.
To
So we had 2 years ago. My oldest son, third grader, first year playing football. We had 13 kids out for the team, and it was really challenging, as you might imagine. And so we had to make it work in a lot of different ways. Called a couple second graders up for some of the games, and we got mercy ruled a bunch of times. But by the end, they had such a great bond, and they wound up so. They won their semifinal, got to their Super Bowl. As a reward, I brought them down here. Yeah. Jeff said, bring them out for a bowl practice. So we brought them out for a bowl practice. And your kids, by the way, and I'm not just saying this because I'm sitting here, were fantastic.
Yeah, great guys.
Like they were just like they were giving the kids their gloves, and the quarterbacks were throwing to the kids after their practice. So it was great. So this year, because of the great experience the kids had, we doubled our numbers, and so then we lost our first 2 games in overtime, and then ran off 9 straight, and they won their Super Bowl. So we brought them back here again in December to come and visit with you guys, which was great again. Yeah, and I got some advice from people. When my son decided he wanted to play, I can't remember who it was, but somebody said to me, "Do everything you can. Even if you're just doing a little bit, go coach." And it's the one sport I'm probably most capable of coaching. Not at a high level or anything, but I can show them some fundamentals and stuff. And I remember saying to our head coach Sean Finn, who's a state cop, he's a great guy. I was like, I'll help wherever I can. Yeah. They thought it was good optics for the program that somebody who's kind of out in the public sphere, he's signing off on it. So we have trouble with numbers and everything else. So I was like, I'll do what I can. I'll show up when I can. I liked it so much that like within 2 weeks, I'm like moving shit around in my schedule so I can be out there and everything else, and taking calls from the field. And so we've got like just a great group of kids. The high school program's been really good for a long time there now. And, it's like my way of giving back, because I can't like even begin to explain how much football's meant to me and how much it's meant in my life, and like what it meant for me, not playing at a very high level, but playing, for 9 years, going through high school. I think football at a time when I wasn't a very good student, taught me the value of hard work, taught me what hard work was. When you're young, you think hard work's one thing, and then you find out it's actually a lot more than what you thought.
Dealing with adversity, teaches you a lot about that.
And then it gave me a career. You know what I mean? And so, and all I ever wanted to be, like, a lot of people get into it and like, I want to be a sports writer, and they gravitate to the NFL because it's the most popular sport. That wasn't me. All I ever wanted to do was cover football. It's why this is the only thing I cover. And so, like, it's like I want to give back to the game every single way I can. And in my line of work, there are little ways to do it. I think this is a bigger way to do it. You know what I mean? Because I think I always think about like the safety element of the game, Billy, and I can remember seeing an HBO special, and it was some youth league in Miami, and they showed video, and it's during the concussion trials, and they showed video of two kids running helmets into each other, and I'm like, nobody ever taught me to do that. No one ever. And I can still remember, like in 1989, my first football practice ever, one of my friend's dads, Joe Roller, comes over and he hits us on the shoulder pads and says, "These are for hitting," and slaps us on the helmet and says, "That's for protection." And it just, like when I saw that, that stuck with me, because it was like, it really is important that the kids are taught the right way.
No doubt.
And so like I view it as like when I talk to the parents, I'm like, come out and watch a practice. Come out and watch what we're saying to them. Come out and watch what we're doing. Like every drill, eyes up, eyes up, eyes up. Like you do, like never have your head down. I think the sport's got so many benefits, and it almost makes my blood boil when I see some of the stuff that can mess with it.
I think you would agree too that the NFL, I think for the most part, has done it because it's all trickle down, right? So the rule changes over the last 10 to 15 years that they've made in the name of safety have helped football. I think if you look at the stats and whether it's the new kickoff rule or whatever the defenseless player rule or all those different things, it's helped the safety of the game. And I think when people ask me about, hey, should my son play football? My son's in the 7th grade. Should he play football? I tell him two things. I said, when your son feels decent about his own body when he's 14, 15 years old, then that's a good time. I don't think they need to be playing when they're 7. That's just my opinion. But when they're 13, 14, 15 years old, and then make sure they have the right, like you're saying, good coaching. Yeah,
it's important. I think it's I think at the end, like all the parents want to know is their kids safe and being protected. That's what they want to know.
No doubt.
Before we let you go, as you start your training camp tours next week, what are some of your storylines you'll be following? For the 2025 season.
Well, I think this particular time of year, the contract things are going to be like the big stories. So, TJ Watt, Micah Parsons, like those things are going to be front burner over the next week. Who shows up, who doesn't show up, Terry McLaurin, like there are a bunch of them that are kind of like sitting out there that haven't been done yet. I'm just really interested to see, like, I think you have this class of quarterbacks now, like these 4 quarterbacks in the AFC, I feel like have sort of like separated themselves. In Pat Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and Josh Allen. And so, like, is there somebody who can kind of break through the glass ceiling and get there? You know what I mean?
How about the guy in Foxborough?
I think
Mr. May.
Yeah, I think May has got a chance. So I think what's so interesting about what Vrabel and Elliott and those guys did, to me at least, is that it looks a lot like what Washington did last year, where Washington, if you go through their free agent acquisitions, nobody was saying this time of year last year that Dorrance Armstrong is going to be the key, or Dante Fowler, or Bobby Wagner, or Austin Eckler, or any of those guys. But they brought in all those guys, and they all had individual connections to the coaching staff. So the coaches knew exactly what to expect. They knew exactly what they were getting. And B, they could be relatively sure that on a roster that had been deficient, they were going to get up to at least level ground.
Better,
like we were at least going to be able to trust the guy out there that he not that he's going to be a superstar, but he's going to do a good job. And I think the Patriots did the exact same thing with the guys they brought in, and that, Steph Diggs, for all the stuff that's happened over the last month, like, he was with
Dayball in Buffalo.
He was with Dayball in Buffalo. He was also with
in Houston
with Todd Downing in with the Jets.
Oh,
right?
That's right.
And Todd Downing was also with Morgan Moses at the Jets.
Yeah.
And you have Robert Spillane coming over from Vegas. Well, he was with Josh, and he was with Vrabel before that.
Yeah.
Harold Landry, BC guy. He's from he was with Vrabel. So even Carlton Davis, like Terrell Williams, had him last year in Detroit. And so, like, I think what's interesting about where the Patriots are is, like, I think there's a lot of the same thing where you're looking to get to level ground at a lot of these spots by bringing in guys Now, the question is, like, because Jaden Daniels played at, like, a historic level last year, can Drake May elevate the way that Jaden Daniels did last year? And I think that's kind of the question. You recruited him?
I'd never recruited him. I met him at the Brady retirement. That's the only time I ever met him. But he was
committed
to Alabama.
Okay, yeah.
He was committed to Alabama. And right before I got there, and Steve Sarkisian had recruited him. And then at the last second, because of his North Carolina connections, he flipped and he went to North Carolina, and that's when Alabama went and got Milroe.
Okay.
And then Milroe came into Alabama. Then I came basically the following year. And then when he never called, but I know that there were rumors about him potentially transferring to Alabama after Bryce left.
Right.
But, obviously that never happened.
Okay, yeah. I'd be interested to hear what you think of him.
Drake May.
Yeah, have you watched him much?
I think he's really good. Yeah, I've watched him quite a bit. Talked to Josh a lot. I think he's, what I always say, he's got a golden arm. He's got anticipation. He's got he throws a great deep ball. Yeah. He can run. Yeah. He runs a lot better than people know now, but in the beginning, people didn't know how well he could run. He's very athletic. I think the whole thing there is, and this is why Josh will be such a big part of it, is that, they'll teach him how to, stay in that pocket. They'll teach him about, coverages and, how their personnel and their formations and their motions and their shift are going to affect the defense. That's the one thing that I think we always did a good job of in New England. Obviously, Josh is really an understanding of defense. Obviously, you master your own scheme, but you have to master what's going on. I always said Tom Brady could have coached the secondary.
Yeah.
He could have gone and coached the secondary. He could have coached the linebacker. You'd be in practice, and he'd be saying, no, he's going to be outside leverage. Just move him to the outside, to this, whoever's running the scout. That's where Drake's got to get to, where he really has an understanding of what's happening defensively, and then he'll.
That's interesting, because I remember you saying that. I think this is Matt Nagy I was having the conversation with when they got Justin Fields, and he was saying, and I was talking to him like, okay, when will you be comfortable putting him out there? And he said, well, there's stages to it. And he said, the first stage is just doing his own job and being able to get in the huddle and spit the play call out.
That's
right
first.
Can you get out there and spit the play call out?
That's right.
Then the second piece is you are being able to kind of direct the people around you, orchestrate the people around you. And so you're able to kind of take the information and get it to the people at the line. And then now you're just running the offense, right? And then he was like, and then you're going to get to the point that when we break the huddle, he's looking at the defense. And we need to get him to the point where he's looking at the defense, where he can take what the defense is doing, synthesize it, and then integrate it into what he's giving to his teammates. And he's like, until your quarterback, it was something along the lines of like, until your quarterback breaks the huddle and he's looking at the defense as you break the huddle, you're really not there yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet. And I'm sure that they're farther ahead now than when they were, because they had those 12 or 13 practices in the spring, which I heard were very competitive, which I would think they would be with Mike, but
a guy who comes out of practice at full pads would probably have full pads practice.
His practice is going to be, but I think that'll be one of the keys, is to see how how well he transitions now with Josh to learning what's going on defensively.
Yeah, I mean, he's like I kind of like looked at like, this is a weird analogy that I thought of, but I was like, I thought of it watching him last year. He's kind of like the puppy with big paws. You know what I mean? You can you can see what he's going to grow up to be, but he's not
exactly.
there.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Speaking of puppies, we need to get you out of here. You get your dog.
No, my puppy
He's
landed
getting a
at
dog
Logan.
today.
Yeah, I got Condon.
Wow.
So we
a
have
dog today.
I'll see if I'm not sure.
Thank God we got a dog guy on the podcast and not a cat guy.
Here you go.
You got two.
There you go. There's my son with a new
one
puppy.
more.
I used to have dogs.
that. See,
Look
Meter,
at that.
that's a dog.
I'm a cat guy.
He's an Aussie. He's so yeah. We have. I was telling these guys downstairs
That's a good-looking
I didn't
dog.
tell you, but like I got conned into this about. It took Emily about 10 days from the beginning of the conversation to this thing being on a freaking plane from Kansas City. So yeah, we had to figure out where American Airlines cargo pickup was today.
Well, it's gonna
I
be-
knew, but I, to my credit, like I knew within about 15 minutes, like I'm losing this argument. It's just a matter of
Oh yeah, it's a
how
loss.
fast
Take the
I lose.
loss. It's going to be an interesting couple of days. Bert, we can't thank you enough.
no, thank you. This is great. Anytime you guys need me, you know you got me.
Hey, real
That's
quick
awesome.
before I know we gotta
Do what you got to do. Ask.
Can we go on?
You going on the bike or what are we doing?
Yeah, I gotta do the bike. But
right.
hold on.
Yeah.
All right.
We gotta say something nice about the Red Sox.
I was just going to say
no.
It's 10
Heck
straight.
yeah.
10 straight.
10 straight.
Now, 10 straight. That's a big deal.
Do you
now.
know that every year they've had a 10-game winning streak, they won the World Series?
Okay.
Of course you
Meter.
knew
Here we
this,
go.
right?
Wow.
There you go.
That's Mr.
game's
Boston
true. Wow,
right
how
there.
about that?
That is a typical Red Sox.
That's
dude
Dewey.
right
That's Dewey. That's your cousin Dewey.
there. They're going to the
He's
World
got a
Series.
cousin Dewey.
But the other thing is that the center fielder, what's his name?
Rafaela.
Oh, that guy's on fire.
He's on fire.
And Roman's starting. He's hitting like 400 in the last.
That game they
however many
had
bats.
last Friday, when Rafael hit the home run.
Oh, it was electric.
I missed it. I was at Back to the Future.
What?
Back to the Future. Renaissance, man.
But you know what I'm watching right
Wait till
now?
play.
You know what I'm looking at right now?
How was the play?
It was good.
Excellent.
I saw it on
It was
the
excellent.
Was it?
Oh, really?
Yeah, it
it was
was
the
good.
play.
Yeah.
Come on,
I
Brian.
saw the ads for it.
It was,
Yeah.
it was actually
It
pretty
was
good.
actually really good.
The Renaissance man, Chach.
I am.
Yeah, he's,
Hey, you know what I'm watching right now?
Uh-oh.
The documentary on the Idaho murders. That is
Oh,
unbelievable.
the
have not
Idaho
seen
murders
it.
is crazy.
That
It
was
was.
crazy.
Yeah, I saw the Dateline. I haven't seen. What's the doc? What's the doc on? Is it?
It's Joel. It started. It came out July 11th. It's on. It's on.
Peacock.
that whole thing is nuts.
Hulu,
Is it
Paramount.
Prime? Might be Hulu.
Okay.
Yeah, that whole thing is nuts. Like I like that one was. I just like the whole thing with the
Terrible.
Yeah, just terrible.
Terrible.
Watch the
Check it
poop.
out.
Watch the poop cruise too on
Oh,
Netflix.
come on.
Come
Seriously,
on.
I've passed on that. I'm watching these
you'll
survivors.
appreciate
Right now, I'm reading Blood and Guts. Marvin
Do you
Hagler
like the
thing
Dave
too.
West?
Yeah.
I just got mine.
Have
Dave
you
West yesterday.
have you watched Your Friends and Neighbors?
Yes, with
That
John
was-
Hamm.
I couldn't get
started
enough of
Very
that one.
good. That was
Okay.
very
Yeah,
I
good.
Your
gotta
Friends and
watch that.
Neighbors on Apple TV. It's pretty racy.
Hey, before we let him
It
go
is
too,
good.
we got to ask him. What do you think about the Buckeyes this year? Is it Sayan? Is Sayan going to be the quarterback?
So I think it sounds like Sands going to be the quarterback. Although the Lincoln Keenholz kid, I guess, is pretty good too. And
He's
like
very athletic.
Yeah, he was like one of these guys. He's from like I think a pinprick town in like South Dakota,
He is,
right?
yeah.
Like,
Great
but,
kid.
But like was like state player of the year. I think in 3 sports or something.
So
crazy.
I recruited Sayan to Alabama. He's awesome kid. Great family. His brother was a starting quarterback.
I'll take
at
any
Penn.
information on Julian Sand you got.
He's a great.
He's good.
kid.
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah, so I think that they're a lot's going to ride. I mean, obviously they're rebuilding the lines of scrimmage. I think that's kind of going to
That'll
be
be
what
big.
it comes down to. Is like they have this big transfer from Rice that's going to play tackle for them.
Yeah,
and,
he's a good player.
yeah, and then they have and then the D line, of course. I mean, like losing the. I mean, those edge guys who had been like rocks for them, like TT Tuamaloau, who's with the Colts now, Jack Sawyer's with the Steelers, or like there's a
those
lot of
guys
things
are
they got to
studs.
replace.
Studs.
They should be great at receiver. They should be great in the secondary. They should be really good at linebacker. It's just
Caleb
those lines of
Downs.
scrimmage. Well, those lines of scrimmage.
First week, Texas.
Yeah, Arch.
Good kickoff.
Arch Manning. Yeah,
They kick it off with Texas.
Big game.
I'm fascinated by the Arch Manning thing too, because it's funny. Everybody like I see him in like number 1 overall, and like
Yeah, of course.
every mock, and it's like, what in his family's history tells you he's going to stay for a year and leave? Like I don't.
He's not like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great point. I read that too. I'm like, wait a minute. I think he's going to play at least 2 years.
I would
there
think so
before
too.
He comes out.
I mean, his dad, like, you know, and give Cooper Manning credit. Like it feels like they've really, for a kid who's
did a great job of that.
Like
kid.
did a great job of just like trying to give him as normal a childhood as a guy with the last name Manning would ever have.
We spent a ton of time with him when I was at Alabama.
Yeah.
We recruited him. It actually probably came down to Texas, Georgia, and Alabama. And his family is awesome, as you would imagine.
Yeah.
But Cooper and his mom, Ellen, they did an unbelievable job raising him. And then Archie, grandfather Archie, is just had a huge influence in the kid's life. And he's a great, great person. So, yeah, I don't see him playing 1 year and then going to the
I'd be
pros.
surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, unless
It's crazy.
I mean, it's because it's interesting.
Unless he really, really
Plus, he's
likes it.
making
or
more
unless
money
it-
at Texas than he will coming out in the NFL.
I mean, he's probably the coolest thing I heard about him, though, that was kind of interesting that would relate to college football is somebody. I think I read somewhere that he hasn't taken a dollar from any of the collectives. Like all of his money that he's made has come from like outside endorsements, which I guess are different than the NIL
third party stuff.
right? Whatever. So like he's made a lot of money, but like he's allowed for Texas to use the money that they're
I've heard that too.
Yeah.
and
I mean,
that doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
He's a great
Yeah,
kid.
he doesn't have to. We didn't. Another thing we didn't mention today: the big dumper. Cal Raleigh wins the home run contest.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Best nickname
dad
in
pitched
sports.
to him. Wasn't his dad pitching to
Dad
him?
pitched. His brother caught.
How about that? That's cool.
His brother.
So I was wondering about that because I was like, I saw the guy throwing. We had the sound off. We had gotten home. Kid had lacrosse last night, so like we had gotten home, and I had it on with the sound off, and I saw the guy throwing to him had the Raleigh in the back of the jersey.
Yeah.
And I was like, is this like the pitching coach just a big fan or whatever?
father coach in Tennessee.
Gotta say though, I'm not a huge home run derby guy.
I didn't watch much of it.
I'm more about the game tonight.
Love the game tonight.
You know
what I
home run
didn't
derby? I mean, they're serving up softballs. It's not even from the mound.
It's like the dunk contest.
But-
so
yeah.
You know what I
jump
didn't
the
like?
shark.
I didn't like the TV. I didn't like the split screen. I didn't like that.
I
I don't know
agree.
why I didn't like it, but I didn't like
It's
the
confusing.
split screen
It was
weird.
confusing. It was
Too much info.
How about the kid that robbed them of a home run and then they gave
That
it
was a
back to
great
him?
catch. That kid.
How about that one guy hit a
513 feet home run. O'Neal Cruz.
Oh my gosh.
Another one was 500. I'm going to Coldplay tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
He's going to go
are
sit in
you?
traffic.
Yes,
Okay.
I am. Yeah.
Snuck that one in there
Do
on
you know
us,
who
Chuck.
invited me to Coldplay? Because he
Who,
listens
Tom
to this
Brady?
podcast.
Ooh.
Steve McLaughlin, the father of Luke McLaughlin.
Oh, gee, thanks, Steve. Where's my invite? I think I've done okay by Luke here, and I don't get the invite to Coldplay.
Who will be? Luke's going to be at the concert tonight.
You know who's a big fan of Coldplay is Brady.
Oh, okay.
loves Coldplay.
I did not know
Might be
that.
in
So
the,
he'll be there with
luxury
his glow stick and all
Well, I
that.
thought maybe he was bringing meter.
I'm going to Thomas Rhett on Saturday. Not a big deal, but
That would be a
I
first.
didn't get
Thomas
invited by
Rhett.
anybody. I had to buy
I'm
my
going
own
nowhere.
tickets.
I'm going to the ACC meetings next
We'll be
week.
So we're going to be.
We'll be there.
with you.
Yeah.
Coach.
We're rooming together.
Where's that
That's a one-day deal. That's in
Right,
Charlotte.
we're there 2 days.
Okay.
We're going to
Yeah,
interview all your.
that's a one-day
colleagues.
deal for us, by the way. I don't know if we can do dinner. Yeah.
I thought that was like I don't know why I had in my head like Ponte Vedra
It
Beach.
used to be.
Okay, so you guys got screwed here.
They wouldn't have let us go if it was there.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, Charlotte's easy.
We had it once at Ponte Vedra. Yeah. And Reynolds Plantation in Atlanta, outside Atlanta.
That would be awesome if they had it at Reynolds Plantation.
That's where I think Frank Beamer's got a spot there.
We're excited, though. Our guys had good practice today.
Good.
Ready to go. They're going to work through next Thursday, and then we'll give them Friday off. Report on Tuesday the 29th.
So you
So
were
rock
So
and
you guys
roll.
like that's the start of camp for you guys,
Yeah.
the 29th. Wow.
It's about 1 week after the NFL.
Okay. Do you guys check them into a hotel and all that?
There's a dorm. It's called 2K right
Okay.
over here.
So you guys are, yeah, we saw kids working out before. They were sweating bullets.
They work. These guys they're working. It's fun to watch them.
You changed the start time to earlier, like Vrabel did from their camp. They went from 11 to like 10 or something like that. It was in the paper the other day.
They
You
did?
change it from like,
For training camp?
For training camp.
No, I didn't. I kept it pretty much the same because you practice in the morning and then there's no more 2-a-days.
Yeah.
So it's a walkthrough at night, and that's kind of
When do you start hitting?
You got to do 3 days of acclimation, and then the fourth day you can start, hitting contact.
And then
We'll
your
suit
first
you up,
scrimmage
mate.
is about a week later.
Yeah, it'll be that It'll be like that following Saturday or Sunday.
Are you guys allowed to coach them now, or is the captains leading them? Or?
We can coach them. We can do like individual with them for a little bit, and then they go out. Our guys go out, and they on Tuesdays and Thursdays they run a player-led practice.
Okay, so it's like a captain's practice, basically. Yeah,
it's good though. They do a really good job. It's very organized, and they're it's good. It's very productive.
All right, Chris Martin, here we come. Chris Martin, lead singer, Coldplay.
I mean, Mr. Coldplay, can't wait. It's almost like he's going now.
How many songs
It's
you know?
only 2 o'clock.
Not many.
It's got to be the shoes.
Look at the shoes.
Yellow.
Jeez. I'm like, dude, shoes?
Well, I can't say anything. I got the
I got
Jesus
big
sandals
feet.
on, so
You have shorts.
Yeah.
His sandals
Shoes,
are fine.
got
He's
nice
got the
shoes.
closed-toe shoes here.
Come on, man.
That's unreal.
What's
Are
wrong
you
with
going like that?
No, I got my girlfriend ridicule me because she's like, "You look like a golf dad."
You look like an old
She's
man.
like going
that
on
is golf dad
look like
wear.
you're
It
going
is,
boating.
You look like an old
Yeah,
man.
she said, "You're
Yeah,
wearing
out of
that." I said,
Richmond
"No, I'm
Harbor.
not going to wear this. I'm wearing a Diesel shirt with
What?
pants.
What's
Diesel.
a Diesel shirt?
You know the brand Diesel?
Vin
Josh, we need a
Diesel or
picture.
like...
Can we get a picture?
Yeah, we'll get a picture of Bert to the post
No,
when
I'm
we go
saying
live.
we need a picture.
Oh, yeah,
we definitely need a picture
Also,
of Bert.
Steve McLaughlin and I will send a picture.
We need
of
a
us.
picture of Chad.
Of this?
I mean, of Meter at the no
You know who else is going to be there?
We need one of those, too.
from the concert.
Yeah.
You know who else is going to be there? Jack Eichel.
Really?
Oh, really?
Chelmsford's finest.
Chelsea's
See?
finest. Vegas Golden Knights. Steve McLaughlin's got everybody going there today.
How about we haven't talked
are you in
about
a box?
Hagen's?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're
I know.
BC kid
BC.
getting drafted by the Bruins.
Jimmy Hagan.
Spectacular.
That guy's a good player.
He is. He might come back
They
to
got,
school.
they got 6 BC kids on the roster.
Do they really? I didn't know.
Drafted.
Draft.
Sorry.
Draft. But Bert, thank you, my friend.
No, of course, anytime. Anything you guys need.
You were awesome.
You're the
Thank you
best,
very much.
seriously, despite your Ohio State.
Well, he's got some allegiances
No,
too.
I'm kidding. Don't include me in that.
I think he got a T-shirt, right?
A lot of praise and respect for Ryan Day. Ryan Day
He's the best.
Yeah,
Ryan
he's a great
Day's
dude.
awesome. Bill, a pleasure.
Always a pleasure with you guys. Have fun at Coldplay.
See you
I'll be
in Charlotte.
driving down the
I got to listen to the next episode to find out just how sore Bill is about this, right? But
This is usually how it goes. Unless we have
does this carry over to the next episode? Like how?
He claims that I know we don't invite him
we
to
have a
anything.
text thing. We
I
group
invited him
text.
to like 2 Red Sox games this year. I can't make.
They don't invite me to anything.
Yeah,
Can't make.
but here's
no.
Bert,
If you
here's
say
the
no
invite.
enough, in their fairness, basically, if you say no enough, then
Here's the invite. Here's the invite. It's
They're
2:30,
making
whatever, 2:15. He'll be like, "Hey, you want to go to the game tonight?" It's 3 o'clock. You're like,
No,
"It's 3 o'clock.
I give you
Game's
like
at
3 hours
7. Like,
of
come on,
runway.
like give me 3 days."
Some runway there.
I mean,
What are we going to Comaquid?
Oh my god,
I don't know if we'll be able to make
shot-
it this year.
I shot 42 yesterday.
I
That was bad this weekend. I played in the Ollie Hallett. It was not good. Michael and I did not. We finished 5th to last. At least we weren't last.
Yeah, well, if you're
Did you
not
watch any
first,
of the
you're last.
American Century Championship? Your boy Dan Patrick was
Tahoe.
there. All the,
did Dan play well?
I don't think Dan played, but Matt Ryan played well.
So
Matt Ryan's
he
good.
was in Rich Eisen's group. You know,
Rich did not play well.
Yeah.
Vrabel was out there. How did Vrabel play? Was he out there?
Not great. Like minus 17, I think.
Minus 17 or plus 7?
It's a different. It's the
different.
Stableford scoring system.
Right.
Some
won?
of these guys are.
Who was
Joe
like the-
Pavelski is a San Jose Shark.
Okay.
All these hockey players are
really
amazing.
The hockey players are good. It's because there's
You get plenty
It's the
of
same
time.
the
swing.
rotational thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same swing.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to brag about my kid for a second. This guy off the tee, 3, I think he hit a couple 330 yards. Drove the
Michael
green.
did?
Yeah, he crushes it.
It's good to be
He's
young.
a baseball player, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good to be young.
That's pretty impressive.
Tough baseball.
It's only 80 yards more than me, Chuck.
Lexington Blue Sox last night. He pitched.
Did he?
I think he had 5 innings. They won, and they beat the Stoneham. I want to say the Stoneham Mudcats or something, or I don't know.
Did he?
In Lexington.
He started.
Yeah, he started. Yeah, I think he gave up like 3 hits.
Nice.
He's doing good.
Did you go to that restaurant I told you last time? No.
I
No worries.
watched it on the YouTube.
Oh, okay.
I didn't.
Michael's going to be on some draft boards before you know it.
No,
MLB draft. Come on.
I'm out there on round 40 right now.
Is it still going on?
I don't.
Do you know Mike?
he's
Piat-
in such a good mood
Right,
because
right.
he's going
Like,
to
he's like,
Coldplay.
you're gonna
Mike-
sit. You know how much traffic you're gonna sit in right now?
Well, that's why I can't get
Well,
out.
then shut up.
Bert, we love you.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, Bert.
Bill O'Brien
Thanks, guys.
podcast. Have a great day, everybody.
The Bill O'Brien podcast reaches thousands and thousands of BC fans each week. Your company has the unique opportunity to tap into this upscale audience by becoming a sponsor. Contact Mike Wynn at MWINN at bostoncollegeas.com for more information.